Hi, I'm Rainer. Welcome to my train room. Today I'm doing something a little different. Actually, not exactly what I expected. Last winter I picked up this Burlington Northern GP38-2. It's a Proto 2000 series. It was still in the box, brand new. Picked it up at an estate sale last winter, and I think I got it for like 20 bucks or something like that. So it was a really good price for what they're worth originally. I mean, there's a original price tag on it from Central Hobbies of $137.50 on it, and then some sale price of $59.99. I don't know where that came from. But from everything I could tell, this thing looks like it has never been run. It's brand new. Couplers were not attached. It still had these little things mounted in the coupler pockets for the packaging, the plastic bags with all the extra details, couplers, all that kind of stuff are unopened. Look perfectly clean, other than the box is a little beat up from a couple of decades of sitting on shelves. I'm not sure when this came out, but it's not new, even though it looks brand new. But I put the thing on the tracks and it just doesn't move. It just buzzes. And then I looked at it in here, and if I can move the motor freely, a little bit back and forth, but the trucks don't move. So I need to figure out what's actually happening with the trucks and see why it won't allow it to move. It just sits there and buzzes and doesn't move. My original plan for this, though, was not to rebuild it because I was hoping it would work. What I was going to do with this is I was going to put a decoder in it, so convert it to DCC. Should be pretty easy. It's got the pin plug. The only thing I need to do is make sure I put in resistors for the lights, because these light bulbs, there's two at the front, two at the back, that will pop as soon as they get the full voltage in them. This pack is just a bunch of diodes. It's basically a couple of rectifiers for the lights for the directional lighting. So what I need to do is modify the light wiring with resistors, or put in some different LEDs that have resistors on them for the lights, and put in a decoder once I get it unseized. The other thing that I was hoping to do with this is, sorry if you're a Burlington Northern fan, I was going to see if I could strip the paint and repaint this thing with Algoma Central colors, because I don't have an ACR GP38, and I thought, considering the price I got this for, this would be a good target for me to do that. So I'm thinking of doing that as well with this, is redecorating it with Algoma Central colors. I have the logos, I have the lettering, I have the paint, so I'm planning on doing that. But the first thing I need to do is get it running. So that is going to be the first challenge. I'm going to sit here and try to figure out what it is that's jamming up. It could be just that it's dried up from sitting for, who knows, 25 years, something like that, in a box and never moving. Hopefully it doesn't have cracked gears in it, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, as you can see from that, I got it running, and this is what it's looking like right now. Now, it turns out that the trucks were just fine, and I'll show you why I checked that first. This is another Proto 2000 locomotive I have, a slightly older model. This one was one of the ones that came in kind of a blue-colored box. This came in a gray box, so I think this is a newer version of Proto 2000 than this one is. Now, these older Proto 2000, the original ones made by Like, had trucks that looked like this. And then this one, trucks, as you can see, are slightly different. And the older Proto 2000s, like this one, like this old Algoma Central Jeep here, the trucks were patterned. I think they basically did a copy of the old Athearn Blue Box trucks. And unfortunately, though, when Lifelike built them, these locomotives were known for the gears on the axles cracking. And this locomotive, I recently replaced all 4 axles. I actually put in Athearn axles and gears because this is one of the original gears from it, original axles, and these gears get a crack running this way on the shaft, and as a result, the minimum you'll notice when the axles crack is when the thing drives down the track, you'll get this regular thumping or clunking happening in there because the spacing between 2 of the teeth is not correct because it's expanded a little bit. If it gets worse than that, the gears can actually jam up and the locomotive doesn't move at all. On this one, all 4 gears were cracked. Although it still ran, I replaced the gears. Now it runs just fine. However, when I pulled this one apart, I realized that they had upgraded the trucks. It didn't use the same trucks as that. And the gears inside here are a little bit narrower gears, but everything was moving just fine inside the truck. So then I knew that I had to dig a little bit deeper. So next thing I did was I pulled this whole big metal weight off of it, and that comes loose on this unit very simply by these 2 screws down in here. I took the fuel tank off just to get access to get things out of the way, but I didn't really need to. Those 2 screws in there just release this whole weight off of it. And then, of course, there's wires running through it down to the trucks, so I couldn't pull it off very far, and it was just getting in the way, so I just cut the wires off. I was planning on putting a decoder on it anyway, so I unscrewed the little diode rectifier board for the lights off the top, and I just removed the lights, and I just cut everything off of it, pulled the weight off, and then I pulled the trucks apart. And as you can see in this video when I'm working on it, when I pulled the tops off the trucks, they just snap off. They just pop off with a little flat screwdriver or something. The worm gears at the top would not turn at all because the little bearings, they're just little square pieces with a hole in them. The grease in those had just solidified and was rock hard, so the worm gear wouldn't move. So I kind of worked those off, cleaned them off using some isopropyl alcohol, and then put some new fresh synthetic grease in there and put it all back together, and everything was moving freely. So that was the fix for why it wasn't moving. Since I had it apart, I decided I would put a decoder in it at the same time. And originally, this is part of the board that was on top of there. It's a little 8-pin thing that was wired in. So the idea with these is that you could just remove that little diode board and plug in an 8-pin decoder into this. And it should work, except for the problem that these little light bulbs have no resistors. And as soon as you do that, it will blow the bulbs. How do I know this? Because I did it in this one. And so rather than fight with that wiring, I just took it out completely and put in a couple of these LEDs that I ordered. I believe I got them on Amazon that are already pre-wired with a resistor in here. So it's really simple. I just put one for forward, one for reverse, followed the colored wiring diagram for the decoder. So the decoders I used are just these little LAIS DCC decoders that I bought on AliExpress, quite affordable. I know there are better decoders out there, but for the number of locomotives I'm trying to get functioning on DCC, I decided to go with affordable for now. There's no sound or anything on them. All they do is forward, reverse, and front and rear lights, and that's all I need. I mean, I'm thinking it'd be nice to get a sound decoder, especially for one of my steam locomotives down the road, but for now, this will do. I have one in this locomotive, I have one in another one, and they have been working just fine. Put it in here, and it worked perfectly as soon as I put it on the track and programmed it. So anyway, mechanically, this is working. Lights are working. Forward works, reverse works. The DCC all works just fine. So that's good for a $20 locomotive plus the cost of a cheap decoder and a little bit of work. I've got it running just fine. So I said at the beginning of the video that I wanted to also repaint this because it was green Burlington Northern. I want to repaint it in Algoma Central colors. And this one was a factory paint, but I have other locomotives here that I have painted myself, and I have the lettering sets for them. I have some of the old Harold King Algoma Central lettering sets. I've been stocking up on them whenever I find them for sale because they don't make them anymore, and because they seem to work pretty well. So I have all the paint up here to paint it, so I'm going to be doing that in the next few days. And so what I did yesterday was this aluminum pan. I put some isopropyl alcohol in it, and I just took the shell apart and soaked it in there for a while, and then used a brush to scrub all of the old paint off, as much as I could anyway. So I've got all the different parts. Here's the shell. I've got the number boards. This is one of the number boards for the front, above the cab. It transmits the light through here. The light shines in there and reflects and comes out the front. So it's kind of a cool setup for the lights. But I've cleaned those all off so I can put new numbers on here and number it appropriately for Algoma Central. Anyway, the shell is there, all cleaned, ready to paint. So I'm going to start on that in the next couple of days. Got to get my airbrush set up and get going on that. Anyway, that's kind of the progress on this so far. Just thought I would show you. Oh, and if anybody's wondering why I'm removing all the old paint, I have painted locomotives before where I just left the original paint on, and it turned out just fine. And you can't really tell the difference. The only difference is that if I remove the old paint, every layer of paint that you put on hides some of the details in the shell a little bit. So if you can get the old paint off, it means you're going to just end up with a crisper detail on the new paint job. So ideally, it's nice to start out with an unpainted shell rather than be layering paint on top of other layers of paint. This, because it was a factory paint, the paint was pretty thin and it would have probably turned out okay. If you get a locomotive that somebody else has hand painted, sometimes the paint can be a little bit thicker on them, and you really want to clean it off so you can get all the detail coming through the paint. But anyway, it's ready to go. Hopefully I can get into the painting of that in the next couple of days and get that on a video as well. But at this point, quite happy. This works. I've been running around the track. I have a continuous loop on the top. Just by flipping a couple of turnouts, I can have the train running as a continuous loop around my top level of the railroad. So I actually had both of these locomotives on the same loop running around up there for about 10 minutes yesterday. And after a couple of loops around, this thing really smoothed out once the lubricant all worked its way through, and all of the decades of sitting in a box got kind of out of the system. So it's running really nicely and smoothly and quite quietly right now. So I'm very happy with that. Anyway, that's about it for this video. And yeah, if you end up getting a Proto 2000, a used one, have a look at it. If it's the old style trucks, you can tell the way the bottom here is these trucks. If you compare the two, you can see the difference in the trucks. If it's this style of trucks, pop these metal covers off. They just snap off, and check the wheels. If there's a cracked gear, it's not going to run smoothly. It may not run at all. If it's this newer type of truck and it doesn't move and you just turn it on and the motor buzzes, there's a very good chance that the bearings for the worm gear on the top are seized, because that grease that they put in there when it's not being used just kind of solidifies and turns into glue rather than grease. So anyway, hopefully this is helpful to somebody if they're working on an old Proto 2000 locomotive. I do have another Proto 2000 switcher in a box somewhere that I haven't used in many years, so I need to pull that out and see if the gears are good in it, because it's one of the older ones and I haven't run it in quite a while. So thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I will have videos coming out on a regular basis here, and thank you for watching.